And blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Joined by our friend, Lars Larson, Lars Larson Show, larslarson.com. Catch him tonight at 6. Good morning, Lars.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Not bad at all. You've got the president still going down with the Chinese. Some big comments earlier today that the Chinese want to come back to the table. But before that, you've got Bill Weld and Joe Walsh going at the president. What do you make of that?
Well, what is wrong with Joe Walsh? I mean, not the musician, but the politician. And by the way, he's been in the same business you and I are in, talk radio.
Sure.
And I think and let me tell you the danger. I don't think in any way, shape, or form Joe Walsh could win the race to beat a sitting president and deny him the nomination is absurd. But do you know what he could do? He could play the Ross Perot spoiler role, which means he's helping the Democrats. And I hope a bunch of reporters start asking him that, although most of the mainstream, they want to get rid of Trump too. The mainstream left-wing reporters that populate most newsrooms in America, maybe not those in Boise, but most newsrooms in America are populated with hardcore left-wing Democrats. Take a look at the New York Times and what they're arguing now, that they can leave conventional journalism behind and just become advocates. But imagine what he could do if he peels off several percentage points even. If he, because the standard move after this, he knows he's not going to get the nomination. So but he could make a lot of noise, and then when the Republican convention says, no, we're giving the nomination to the sitting president of the United States, who's been very successful for the country, Walsh could run as an independent, and he could end up peeling off in the general just enough to deny Donald Trump the win. I'm not suggesting that the win's going to be a landslide for Donald Trump. He's a controversial figure, and a lot of people hate everything he does. If he invented motherhood and apple pie, they would say we hate motherhood and apple pie because Donald Trump is in favor of it. You know that. He once said that if he could buy Beijing for $1, the Democrats would find a way to object to it. I've got that soundbite somewhere.
I'm with you, Lars, but going into the mind of a former Congressman Walsh.
You don't have to go too far into his mind. I may have met Joe Walsh once or twice at some event, where talk show hosts are gathered. It might be, CPAC or whatever. Do you know what I think's in his mind, really, is greed. I mean, because I can't think of another good reason to do this, Kevin. He has almost no national name familiarity. So what will he get out of running for office? Same thing that Jay Inslee did by costing the voters of taxpayers like me of Washington State a lot of money so he could run on what was doomed to be an unsuccessful run for president. But he raised his national profile. He got a lot of time on TV. He can write a book. He hopes to win a third term as governor. He may get invited to be part of a Democrat administration in the future. He'll get a lot of juice out of it that will benefit Jay Inslee. Can you tell me what Joe Walsh gets out of this other than raising his national profile, getting a lot of attention? CNN and the rest of those folks love the idea that somebody is going to challenge Trump. But ask yourself this, is in any way, shape, or form does he have a snowball's chance of securing the nomination or ultimately of winning against a Democrat candidate? But does he have the potential to act as the Ross Perot-style spoiler? And I hate to make that comparison because actually I thought Perot had some good ideas, but Perot helped give us Bill Clinton.
He did, not once, but twice. And what about Bill Weld? What do you make of him?
He's been a mess for a while, and again, there are a lot of rhinos in the Republican Party, Republicans in name only, who call themselves conservatives, and then you start taking a close look at their politics, and you say, you're not really conservative, are you? No, but I'm officially a Republican. They're country club Republicans, and so I'm not saying Walsh is. I think Walsh is looking at an opportunity in media because at the very least, he would come out of this with a lot more national name familiarity than he has right now. I mean, you've always been very kind to me. I have a national radio show. I've had one now for 17 years, right? And so does that give me some national name familiarity? Absolutely. Do most of the people in the United States know who I am? No, they don't. And that's just the God's honest truth. They don't. But if I ran for president, which I'm not planning to do, never would do it, have no interest in doing it. But if I did, would I get a lot of attention? Yes. Would more people know my name? Yes. Would people buy a book? Yes. Would I make a lot of money? Probably make more money than I would if I wrote a book right now. So is he doing this for selfish reasons? That at the very least he could come back and maybe get a spot on CNN. I mean, heck, CNN will hire lying former FBI officials. If they'll do that, they'll hire almost anyone.
Yeah, it just seems kind of odd, that these guys would do this. But
listen, Kevin, have you ever seen people willing? And this is a legal thing to do. And we're not talking about making methamphetamine or trafficking children. We're talking about something that's legal to do. So would people do something a little outrageous to make a lot of money? Yes. Would they do something a little outrageous to become more well-known? Well, YouTube's full of people like that. So is it strange? No, it's not strange at all. But is it helpful to the rest of us? Does it do anything that actually improves the conversation? I don't think so. And I mean, what is his biggest claim to fame in terms of positions? We know the Democrats are almost all on the same page. In fact, it's gotten to where you have to have a scorecard to figure out. Now, let's see. He's in favor of almost full national health care. She's in favor of full national health care. This other one is in favor of a mix. But most of them, the differences even among the Democrat candidates are relatively small. Which position of Joe Walsh's stands out as the one, other than if you hate Trump but you don't want to vote Democrat, I'm the alternative?
Lars Larson joining us. Catch him tonight at 6. Catch him anytime, larslarson.com, on Facebook, Twitter, and everywhere. So it looks like Elizabeth Warren could be the cat's meow. She was in Seattle over the weekend. A lot of people are liking her. Your thoughts?
She is. First of all, we have to keep pointing out that this is not a small issue, that she made her career on a lie. Now, when someone makes his or her career on a lie, you really have, this isn't some small matter, somebody who did a little resume padding. I've always been careful in our business, Kevin. I mean, for some reason, when I was 20, I realized if you pad your resume, somebody's going to ask you about it later. And that's before the advent of the Internet. You better be prepared to prove whatever it is you claim about yourself. She lied to get a sweet job as a college professor teaching one class a year at Harvard for $400,000 a year. She made her bones in politics based on a lie. So that's a very important piece. But on one specific issue she brought up in Seattle, and I've got some sound bites from her speech. I'm not up there, of course. I'm a ways south. But she claims that, well, when I was a little girl, the minimum wage would happily support a family, put a roof over their head. Kevin, this is hogwash. Now, you're a bit younger than me. I just passed the age of 60 this year. When I was a little boy, so put that at about, and I can't remember exactly how old Warren is, but I think we're pretty close to the same age. I remember distinctly how much money I made. I worked in a furniture store. I made the minimum wage. It was $1.14 an hour in 1973. I know that my dad paid either $110 or $120 a month for rent. We had a little house. This is after my mom died. And we had a little house in Tillamook, Oregon. If I worked 160 hours, which is a standard work month, and I made $1.14 an hour, even before you've taken out the payroll tax, which was a little smaller then, and federal tax and state tax and all that, you're making $160. Somebody tell me that Elizabeth Warren thinks that in 1973 that $160 happily supported a family, put a roof over your head, paid the rent or the mortgage, paid for food, paid for utilities, paid for gasoline, paid for clothing. That's hogwash. And yet she runs around. People have this weird idea that somehow the minimum wage is supposed to be a wage that supports you. It is not. It's a starting wage primarily for kids. There are apparently about 4% of the working population makes the minimum wage. Almost nobody In other words, 96% of America does not make the minimum wage, but we have these constant discussions of what the minimum wage is and what it should do. Should the minimum wage, should it be $15 an hour so that someone who comes out of high school and has no more talent than to fog a mirror should make $30,000 a year? And if he or she has a girlfriend or a wife, that their household income with no skills whatsoever should be a minimum of $60,000 a year. That would be, in most American communities, not the biggest cities, $60,000 a year is a good place to start. You can you can do the math, and that supports even a house payment on a modest house in most of the Pacific Northwest. So, do you really think that minimum wage is a wage that should support a comfortable living? And if that's the case, what's the incentive to go out and work hard to get better than the minimum wage? Minimum wage should not be a wage that supports people. And most people don't know a single person who makes the minimum wage, Kevin, since it's only 4% of the population.
Our great friend Lars Larson with us. Lars, I'm going to get you out on this one, but I spent some time in your neck of the woods last week, and I was talking to my brother-in-law, Rick, and his wife, Cindy, and they said, you make sure you tell Lars Larson we've got a Sleep Number bed because of him.
I'm glad to hear that. You know, this November, Tina and I mark 21 years sleeping on a sleep, and it is a Sleep Number bed. It's a great bed. And believe me, Kevin, I have enough latitude on commercials. I don't have to do it. If I went to my boss and said, look, this thing just doesn't do it for us. And you know, the funny thing is people don't realize. They think, well, whoever walks in the door and offers the money. No, I've turned down plenty of commercials and always have, saying that doesn't fit me. I don't really, that product doesn't work for me, or I don't believe in it, or whatever. In fact, I think a while back, are you aware of the internet commercial or the internet app called Ashley Madison?
Yes.
Okay, you know what it's all about. It's about arranging for people to cheat on their spouses.
Right.
They were out, shopping their wares around talk radio, and I said, I want no connection to that whatsoever. I don't believe in it. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's moral, and I won't be a part of it. And my bosses respect that.
Right.
I said, okay. And now, if I didn't like my Sleep Number bed, I wouldn't be doing ads for them. I've been sleeping on a Sleep Number bed for 21 years.
Right. No, I'm with you, but it was funny just mentioning you while I was on vacation there in Newport. But one more thing that my brother-in-law was saying, by the way, he loves you, your biggest fan.
Well, tell him thank you very much.
He was talking about the whole issue involving the carbon tax and the timber industry. It's far from over in Oregon.
Well, and here's where we really have to question where our government is going, because America has always been about representative government. It's very clear in the language of the Constitution and the Declaration that the government derives its authority to govern from the consent of the governed. And we expect our government to represent us. Now, there are times where an issue comes up and we don't, as members of the general public, we don't know it well enough. If somebody says, should we have, more nuclear submarines that have missiles or more nuclear submarines that attack, that's a technical issue. I don't expect the average person to vote on something like that because it's a technical issue. And if they ask me about soybeans, I say, well, ask the people in the ag department to decide that. But Kate Brown has asked the legislature, which is controlled by Democrats, a supermajority in one house, one vote short of a supermajority in the other, and she's a Democrat, and all but one of the state office holders are Democrats. She said, I want this carbon tax. She couldn't get the people's representatives to vote for it. And they refused to put it to a vote of the public because I think they're fairly sure what the public would do with it. So she is now talking about using an executive order. So in other words, the government that is supposed to get its authority to govern from our consent and is supposed to represent us is now saying we're going to push a carbon tax through, this is Kate Brown, through an executive order that we know the people's representatives have already formally rejected, and we don't dare put it to a vote because I think they're certain what would happen if they put it to a vote. It would go down in flames, pun intended, and so they say, well, we'll just impose it. Kevin, we really have to start asking, do we want the kind of government that simply imposes solutions on the people, or do we want to respect the idea that You get your right to govern from the consent of the governed. Anytime a public office holder says, I'm going to push this through, but I'm not putting it to a vote because I know my constituents would vote it down, they're taking that idea and throwing it away. And it is very dangerous if we start having a government that says, you don't have any say in this. We will decide for you. At one point, your parents decided for you and my parents decided for me, and that's right within a family. But when you get to 18, you become an adult, you have the right to decide for yourself. As a citizen in a society, the government has no right to say, we are going to do things to you, allegedly for you, over your objections. That throws the idea of American representative government right out, and it doesn't matter if it happens at the national level, state level, city level, that you should operate with. Now, does that mean everything has to be put to a vote? No, of course not, because there are some things that where there's a clear public message. We want this, we want that. If the public in Idaho started saying we really want speed limits cut to 50 miles an hour, I mean, there really was a groundswell of popular public support for that. The legislature could say, look, the public wants this, let's do it. But otherwise, they should either ask or they should find some way of determining what is it the public wants us to do about this problem. And it's okay for politicians to say, you want us to do this solution, but this solution really isn't going to solve the problem. We'd like to propose this other solution. If you can get popular public support for that idea, go ahead and do it. But how dare you say we will do something we know the public doesn't want, and even the public's representatives don't want?
Lars Larson, we can't wait to hear you tonight at 6. Thank you, sir.
Looking forward to it, Kevin. Always a pleasure.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Your call's next. Liberty Linda, hang on. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And let's go to Liberty Linda. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
Oh, did I miss you? I can't speak for all the others, but I would get into my day and something was wrong, and I was thinking, what is it? What is it? Well, we didn't have a Kevin Miller show in the morning. So, anyway, I'm sure everyone else felt the same way as I did. But, Kevin, I have a question for you. How come we get supposedly Republicans in office and we are still begging for conservative ideas to be put forth? We keep voting for them, but like what you were talking about earlier, we don't see our ideas being put into, like, the tax on the food and this. They say they're going to do it, they get into office, and they don't do it. When is it going to be for we the people and not we the government? That's my question for you this morning.
Well, I would agree with you, and it seems to me it's the same old, same old. Well, revenues are down, this and that and the other. We can't do anything. Oh, wait, revenues are up, but sorry, there'll be no break for the taxpayer, and you have people that are losing their homes and losing just about everything.
Oh, it's horrible what's gone on there in Idaho, with the homes going up the way they have. I mean, it's total disaster. I mean, look how many people have been leaving the state. I had to because of what's going on there. I didn't want to, but, it's government. I'm so thankful for our President Trump. He has helped the people of our nation. He has helped our nation around the world. We are the strongest nation in the world again because of our President Trump, in my opinion.
Well, you have people going after President Trump saying he's a bad President Trump now.
Oh, it's horrible. I have one thing to say, Kevin. Socialism sucks. I'm just so thankful that we have a strong government again, a strong country again, a country we can be proud of. We can look at our flag. We can look at our Constitution. We're thankful for our founding fathers. What we have here is the most wonderful country in the world, and that's why people are basically killing themselves to get into it.
Right.
And so anyway, I'm thankful for that. And unbelievable. Those who are running for the Democratic Party, we listen to them. and scratch our heads and say, what in the world is going on? It's just unbelievable what we're seeing going on. I can't believe that these are Democrats running. They're not Democrats. They're socialists. They're communists. They're actually putting forth communism in our country.
Sure.
And unfortunately, our poor children are being brainwashed in our schools to believe that, to come out of the schools believing. I know I saw it. I saw it when I was in college. That's what they were doing in college. They were brainwashing everyone. I'm so thankful that I saw through it at that time. But anyway, Kevin, if we didn't have your show every morning and listen to your wonderful callers, you have absolutely wonderful callers and know what's going on, most of them. You know, we have one calling in all the time that keeps us on our edge, and you know who that is.
Sure.
Yeah. We won't mention his name.
Fair enough.
I know. We love you, Kevin. So glad to have you back.
Glad to be back. Take care.
You as well. Talk to you later, okay?
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, coming up next, we'll debate property taxes and the government right here on KIDO Talk Radio. I do want to remind you, Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic just around the corner. Details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Good morning, Robin. And let's hear what you have to say. Let's go to Doug in Mountain Home. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Yeah, what was it? Our other good, great president said, Reagan, that freedom is only one generation away from being lost. Well, we're seeing it. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah. What was that gal's name that you had on? It was a rerun you had on, I think it was last Friday, from Vegas.
Heidi Harris.
Yeah, she had. I like listening to her, especially when she called that cupcake. I mean, that's what the problem is with these kids nowadays. It's like, you know, everything's perfect. I'm perfect. How dare you tell me I'm not? But anyway, who's this joker that's running? Because I don't have TV. I'm glad I don't. But who's the joker that's running? Walsh? Going to be
Joe
like
Walsh.
Perot?
Right, yeah, Joe Walsh, yes.
Where's he from?
He's from Illinois.
Oh, imagine that. What's he going to run? Just, I don't know. I mean, clue me in here. Is he going to run against him for, you know, I don't understand what. He's going to run as an independent or what?
He's going to run as a Republican in the primaries.
All right. So, yeah, all they're trying to do is just make it a big mess, steal votes away from him. I mean, everybody can see that. All right. Yeah, I like listening to Lars, too. That's a mess over there where he's at. It's a mess in this country, but Portland, Oregon is a real mess.
You know, I met a woman on my way out, and she looked like a lib to me, but even she said Portland is lost.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess they just had, my neighbors told me they had a big to-do with that, with Proud Boys and 3%, and what's the other side
Antifa.
for the, huh?
Antifa.
Yeah, I guess they had a big to-do on the bridge crossing over the Columbia, huh?
They did.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just wanted to let my 2 cents in. People wake up. These people don't care about, just like Lars said, they don't care about nothing but money and power, period. They want to do away with a whole bunch of the population, 2/3 of the population of this world, not just the country. They don't care if 2/3 of it dies. They want their little utopia world where they can smoke pot and drink wine and go, ooh la la, look what we did. So wake up, America, especially you kids. All right, I've said enough, Kevin. Thanks for the show.
Thank you, Doug. Let's go to Sherlock in Nampa. Sherlock, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. My apologies for calling in so late. I heard a couple of your segments, issues, which were quite interesting. But I had a priority taking care of the dog.
It's all about it. By the way, today is National Dog Day, yes. So it's all about priorities, yes.
The aspect is that you had a gentleman that called in, Blair, and I hope he's still listening, and he had a very good a grasp of the situation within property tax and the correction as such of. However, there's a problem, and that is back when Idaho was a territory, adopted into the territory was called the Torrens Land Registration Act. And his solution to it, whereas it would be the 2% upon the original purchase price, won't fly. It goes back to the basics, and I mean basics. Article 1, Section 1 of the Idaho Constitution, not the national, but the Idaho Constitution, whereas we have the right to own and protect our property. Unfortunately, those that still have a mortgage on their property owe property tax. And that's a fact. The differentiation is those that own their property don't owe any property tax. I just thought I'd throw that in.
You're saying that if you paid off your mortgage, you don't own a property, you don't pay property tax?
If you have the proper status to your property, we'll have to have a public seminar, so to speak, maybe at at the stadium on the blue turf, and say, "Oh, gee whiz, guys, guess what?"
Well, I think it goes down to the lawmakers and their
it
whole.
Doesn't.
Well,
no.
Let me finish.
Surely,
I appreciate that. Look, the lawmakers say it's out of hand. It's out of hand. How can you justify property taxes going up by 10 or 20% a year? My services have not gone up 10 or 20% of the year.
That's because you're looking for the, quote, state to correct your property ownership.
Well, the state is charging me taxes on it.
Oh, that's because you have a mortgage.
Again, you're saying that if you don't have a mortgage, you don't pay property taxes.
To all your listeners
well,
right
hold
now,
on. Yes or no?
No, you don't owe property tax.
If your house is paid off in full.
Bingo.
I can't wait to hear what people have to say about that one.
Oh, it'll put their shorts in a knot.
That's what we aim to do here each and every morning, your shorts in a knot.
I understand that. Well, we'll probably, at one time or another, soon, we'll have a conversation over a cup of coffee or a donut, whatever the case may be.
Fair enough. Sherlock, thank you for the call.
Surely.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. That's the first one I've heard, that if you pay off your house, you don't pay property taxes. We'll see about that one. By the way, our friend Jim in Boise, Kevin, can the Ada County tax assessor name one homeowner who has lost his or her residence due to being unable to afford to pay taxes? A reverse mortgage would prevent such a default, or is the uproar just a bunch of freedom lovers who want to be free from taxes required to keep up with the area's explosive growth that boosts the local economy? Jim in Boise. I take a look at the area growing, and I see all this revenue coming in, and I don't see a lot of expanded services. Case in point, our friends in law enforcement. Have we expanded the police departments to keep up with the excessive speeding, the aggressive driving in the Treasure Valley? At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I can see the road construction, which, again, continues to fall behind where we need to be. And to me, I look at our elected officials who volunteered for this job and said, look, we want to represent you. Okay, represent us. People, in my opinion, should not be losing their homes because they're taxed out of it. Now, does that mean that you have big government solve the problems? If not government, then whom? Really? This is a trying time. And now the state's saying that they're looking at revenues that were down. Doesn't it seem like every July revenues are always down? And then magically, while they're going over the budget that they have to cut, the revenues come back. I don't really understand it, how the economy of the state of Idaho works. But the governor's saying that state tax revenues were down in July, and if that continues, prepare to cut spending and lower the budget requests. So that's code for put the repeal of the grocery tax on hold and everything else. This is what I don't understand. In February and March, revenues are up. Woohoo, everything's great. And then it all goes bad in July. I don't get how that works. And now you have a town hall meeting with all these Republicans, and they're saying transportation, well, we cover that every day. Redistricting, we need more legislative districts. We need less legislative districts. How about less government? And the hemp issue, well, we'll see how that breaks down. But the number one issue, rising property taxes. And it's the same thing with the markets. When Dave Petzo and I talk, and I love speaking with Dave Petzo, it's the markets. Well, the perception is this company's doing a good thing. Well, do they have anything to show for it? Maybe. They're perceived at gaining value. And the perception is everybody wants to move here. So what happens? Property values go up. Hey, my home value has gone up exponentially. Well, then what does that mean? Well, then you have to pay more in taxes for it. It's crazy, but that's our system. But if I'm paying more taxes, then I should get more government services. It's like this. You can go fly on a plane and you can spend, the cheapest probable fare, $300. Okay. Do I get a seat? Well, you kind of get a seat, but you have no leg room. Okay. I'm going to squeeze myself in here. Right? Now, you can pay $20, $30, $40, $50 extra, and you can get a seat with a legroom. You can spend $100 extra, and you can be treated like a human. You can pay more, and you can go to first class. At least you're getting some return on it, as opposed to what seems to be happening here. And there are a lot of people that are frustrated over it, and there'll be a lot of people that will be telling their state legislature, fix my problems. Is that unfair to them? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And blessed to be with you. This in from our friend Congressman Fulcher. It is my understanding that the legislature changed the law in 2007 so that people that can't pay property taxes cannot lose their home or be evicted. Rather, the owed tax becomes a lien on the estate. Thank you for that clarification, Congressman Fulcher. We have an email from Liberal Steve. I'd like to know what Sherlock is talking about. I have no mortgage. I am solvent, yet I pay property tax. George in Caldwell. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, George.
Hello. I'm 85 years old. We bought our home 7 years ago, new home. And in this 7 years, our property tax has gone up almost 3%, or 3 times what it was originally. And, we have to pay our property tax if our home is paid for. But I would like to see some relief on this because a lot of us in our senior years that are on fixed income, they're going to tax us right out of our homes if we're not careful. So I just wanted to throw that out and let people know that we're feeling the pinch, and I really can't see any call for it.
Well, what do you want to say to the legislators personally right now?
Well, they need to take a good look at this because I think with the number of homes that are selling here and the increase in the population and the increase in the property taxes as these homes are sold, they ought to take a look at it and stabilize this and go to a Prop 13 or whatever it was in California where the taxes are rolled back to where they were about 5-6 years ago. And then we could breathe a little easier and probably look forward to electing some decent legislators.
Well, they always seem to be running behind. You know, you elect people like George. If I elected you to build a bridge or to sweep a floor or whatever, you'd have to build the bridge or sweep a floor. You'd be held accountable for that. To me, the legislators, they just kind of come in and give us the same old story again and again, and that's about it, really. Nothing ever gets done.
Once they get in office, they think they're above the constituents that put them there, and it's a lifetime job for most of them. And I don't think this is right. I think that we ought to have a term limit, and so we get some new blood in there that'll listen. Maybe they'll listen to what the people who put them there have to say.
Well, it's fascinating when you think about term limits because there were term limits, and then the legislature, I believe, said, you're not the boss of me, and the term limits went away.
Right. They think they're above us, and they get in there, and it's a lifetime job. They get all the perks and all the privileges, and we have to pay for them.
Well, we are paying for them. George, best of luck to you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Robin. Big events coming up this week. Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic brought to you by CapEd Credit Union. Once again, join us at Ann Morrison Park each and every morning, beginning Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then on Friday, do the double session. Go in the morning, take your family, take your kids. Bring a blanket. It tends to be a little cold. And then come back at night. We'll all be there. The stars of Town Square Media Boise will be there. I'll probably be working the little trinkets tent as I usually am. And your chance to see the balloons at night. Now, whether you've lived here a long time or just gotten here, the night glow is very magical, and it's set to music, and it's entirely free. Again, thanks to CapEd Credit Union and our friends at Town Square Media, who are bringing you the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. Now, a few notes of contention here, and I'm sure Glenn and the boys will be talking a little bit more about this later on. We have two challengers, Republican challengers, to President Trump. Here is one of them. His name would be Congressman Walsh.
I'm going to run for president, and I'm happy to be on your show announcing my candidacy. George, no surprise, we've got a guy in the White House who's unfit, completely unfit, to be president. And it stuns me that nobody stepped up. Nobody in the Republican Party stepped up.
Joe Walsh, a former congressman, now a late-night talk show host on the Salem radio networks, challenging the president from the right, from the left in the Republican primary. It's this guy.
I'm thrilled about Joe Walsh and Mark Sanford getting in. I think that's terrific, and it's going to be a more robust conversation. Who knows? The networks might even cover Republican primary debates. They can ill afford to say they cover only Democrats, but I'm looking forward to both those fellows getting in, and I hope more as well.
Bill Weld, the former governor of Massachusetts, at one time a serious presidential threat. What this shows you is not only are the media folks afraid of the president being reelected, the crazy, wacky, zany libs afraid of the president being reelected, but now various tribal factions within the Republican Party, even the Mooch, Scaramucci, going after the president, shows you that he's right over the target, doing the right things, and we're with you every step of the way, as we are with you. Ray and I, great job as always. God bless everybody. Keep the faith and stay tuned.